Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial we are going to learn about two very powerful attributes in HTML tables, and first is col span and the second is row span. Okay, by the end of this video you will fully understand what these attributes do, why we use them, and how to apply them in your own HTML projects. So make sure you stay till the end because we are going to cover everything from scratch. Let's get started. So before we dive into col span and row span, let me quickly remind you of the basic structure of an HTML table. So an HTML table is created using the table tag. Okay, inside the table we use tr. Okay, tr tag, which stands for table row. So this creates a row. Okay, inside each row we use table td, which stands for table data. So this creates a cell. We also have a th tag. Okay, so th stands for table header. This creates a bold centered heading cell inside your table. So if you want to look at the the basic table, how it looks, let me show you. So first of all you need the table tag, and I'm going to use the border as a property. I'm going to set it to 1. Okay, now I need open up the table row, and here I need table heading name, and again table heading for age. Okay, so I'm gonna write the data for Elise td by using the td tag. Elise is the name and age is 25. Okay, let me open up the preview so you can observe the code too. Simple. Now here is the thing, sometimes in real world tables a single cell needs to stretch and cover more than one column or more than one row. That is exactly where col span and row span come in. Let's talk about col span first. The word col span means column span. It tells a table cell to stretch horizontally. That means it will spread across multiple columns. The syntax is very simple. You just add the col span attribute inside a td or th tag and give it a number. Okay, that number tells the browser how many columns this cell should cover. So for example, if you use here a td inside the td, and you use the col span attribute and you set it to 2, so you can see this single cell will now take up the space of two columns side by side. Okay, as you can observe in the preview tab. So let me show you a real example so this becomes crystal clear. Imagine we are building a schedule table with a header that says name, and it needs to stretch across two columns underneath it. Okay, so let me show you how you can do this. So first of all you need the table tag, and I'm gonna set the border to 1. Okay, now what I need to open up the tr table row. Now I need the table heading, and inside I'm gonna use here the col span attribute, and I'm gonna set it to 2. Here I'm gonna write here name. Okay, so what I need to open up another row, and here I'm gonna write the table data first name, and I'm gonna write here last name. Okay, now I'm gonna write tr, table row and table data for John. Okay, and I'm gonna write here the last name Doi. Okay, now look at what happens here in the first row. As you can see, we only have one th tag, but we gave it a col span. We have used a col span attribute and set it to 2. This means that one header cell stretches over two columns. In the second and third row we have two cells each, and those sit perfectly under the merged header. So this is exactly the table you saw on the you are looking at in the preview tab, where the word name is big header sitting on the top of two columns. Okay, so that is col span in action. The key rule to remember is when you use col span 2 on a cell, you must remove one cell from that row because that one cell is now doing the job of two cells. Okay, now let's talk about row span. The word row span means row span. Instead of stretching horizontally like col span, row span stretches a cell vertically. It makes a cell cover multiple rows going downward. Okay, the syntax is very simple. So let me show you. For example, here if you use here John and you use row span attribute and set it to 2, then you can check the effect. Understand? So in this way, this single cell will now stretch down and cover the space of two rows. Okay, so let me show you a practical example. Let's say we are building a monthly schedule table. The month April should appear as a single cell on the left, but it needs to span across two rows because it covers 2 weeks of data. Okay, so let me show you how you can do this. Let me remove it, and we are going to use the table, and I'm going to use the border attribute and set it to 1. Now what I need to open up the tr, then we need the table heading. Okay, inside table heading I'm going to use the row span. I'm going to set it to 2. Okay, so let me write here in capital letters April. Okay, so what I need to write here the table data, and I'm going to write here week 1. Okay, and I'm going to write here table data, and I'm going to write here data A. Understand? So what I need to open up another row, and here I'm going to write table data week 2, and I'm going to write here table data B. Okay, so look carefully. In the first row we have April with row span 2, as you can see. Okay, that means this one cell will stretch down and occupy row 1 and row 2. So in the second TR, we do not write another cell for April because April is already occupying that space from the first row. This is exactly like the second table you saw on that, you are looking at in the preview tab. So, okay. So where April appeared as a tall cell on the left side covering multiple rows, that is row span. Okay. The key rule here is when you use row span 2 in a row, the next row must have one fewer cells because one of its column space is already taken by the row span cell above. Okay, now here is where it gets really interesting. You can actually combine both col span and row span in the same table. This lets you build complex real world tables layouts like invoices, timetables, calendars, and report cards. So let me show you how you can do this. So first of all, you need the table tag. Okay, then you need the border as an attribute, and I'm gonna set it to 1. Then you need the tr tag, table row, and you are gonna use here table heading. And for example, I'm gonna use the col span as an attribute, and I'm gonna set it to 3. Understand? Now I'm gonna write here student report. Okay, so what I need to open up another tr tag, and I'm gonna write here the td, and inside td I'm gonna use the row span as an attribute, and I'm gonna set it to 2. I'm gonna write here John Doe. Okay, so I'm gonna write another data math, and I'm gonna write here 95. Understand? Now I need to open up another another row, and I'm gonna write here td science. Okay, and I'm gonna write here td 88. So let's break this down. The first row has one th heading, as you can see, with the col span 3, so the heading student report stretches across all 3 columns. In the second row, the first cell John Doe has row span 2, as you can see, so it stretches down across row 2 and row 3. Then in the third row, we only write 2 cells math and science scores because the first column is already occupied by John Doe from above. This is exactly how professional real-world tables are designed. Now let me tell you the most common mistakes beginners make with the cold span and row span, so you don't make them. So mistake that the beginners made, not removing the extra cells. When you use cold span 2 in a row, that row should have one fewer TD tag. Okay, if you forget to remove it, your table layout will break and cells will overflow. The mistake number two, same thing with row span. When you use row span is equal to 2 in a row, the next row must have one fewer cell. Forgetting this is the most common bug in the table layouts. Okay, the mistake number three, using col span and row span with a value of 1, that does nothing. The default value is already 1, only use these attributes when the value is 2 or more. So forgetting the border attribute when testing, without borders it is very hard to see if your table is working correctly. Always add border, okay, border attribute, and set it to 1 when you are learning and testing. Let me give you a quick summary of everything we covered today. So first of all, we covered call span, stretches a cell horizontally across multiple columns. Use it when a heading a cell needs to cover more than one column. Then we use the row span that stretches a cell vertically across multiple rows. Use it when a cell needs to cover more than one row going downward. Both attributes go inside TD or T tags. That value you give them is the number of columns or rows you want that cell to cover. And always remember, when a cell spans multiple columns or rows, you must remove the corresponding cells from the affected rows so the table stays balanced. Okay, and that is everything you need to know about HTML table call span and row span. That was our topic 2. These two attributes are incredibly useful, and once you understand them, you can build any kind of complex tables layout you want. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I will answer every single one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new tutorial. I upload regularly and there is a lot more HTML, CSS, web development content coming your way. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.